I'm going to do a news report on my town square where I pay taxes every day. That's just happening. Whether I do it with the cops, with the security, or by my lonesome, it's happening. Blessed are the peacemakers.
We talk again.
Here comes the UN.
Hello, we talk again. We talk again. Thank you. All right, we spoke to the security there. They said at 12:34 they trespassed all of you guys. What time is it now? 1:04. It's not an indefinite trespass. All right, so for the next 24 hours, they told me.
But they're not the boss, right?
They said that you guys got some filming done in there already today.
They're not my editor, though, are they? They're not real cops, but they're playing cops. They're not my editor. They're playing editor, aren't they?
We're trying to keep the peace here. They're advising that once you guys got in the square, the situation became very volatile.
The situation did, but we didn't.
The problem is that we don't want a volatile situation, so
you're letting them stay there, officer. You're letting all those people break a number of laws. I could cite you the law that you're not enforcing against them. Why are you enforcing the law against the Section 2B charter journalists?
Listen, we're trying to help everybody out here and keep the peace. So they're telling me that they trespassed you. They don't want you on their property.
They're Mickey Mouse small cops. I don't care what they say.
Well, they have the authority for the city property, right? They're city security officers.
Show me the trespass notice. Show me the grounds. They haven't done it.
They gave you a verbal trespass.
No such thing.
A full form would take a while to get.
Well, then they should go to law school, shouldn't they, or cop school?
Well, they should revamp their little procedure they have for that.
They're mall cops, boss. They don't know what they're doing. Here's what I want to do, officer. I want to go to the stairwell with you and your team, because I know that these ruffians won't mess with your team. I want to go and I want to do a 5-minute journalism. And frankly, I'm going to do it whether or not you guys are there.
I did mention that to them, and they don't want you on the property, right?
You know what? 1-800, I don't care. I mean, their opinion matters not at all to me.
I understand that. So I would suggest to shoot some footage from here.
You know, I got my Diamond VIP press pass with barcode. I'm a special reporter. That's what my mom calls me. My mom calls me special.
I'm not saying you're not, but what I'm saying is, why don't you shoot some footage from here and get what you can get here while we're standing here, and make sure that you guys are safe right now. Right?
Because I'm a free citizen and that's my town hall. That's my town square. That's the answer. Why? There's no other answer to it.
Wow, that was kind of like watching an episode of Perry Mason if that classic TV series featured an outdoor courtroom, that is. But seriously, is that what it takes to practice journalism in the public square in Toronto of 2020? Do journalists need to bring a lawyer along with a printout of the Trespass Act, as well as, 7 bodyguards? And meanwhile, a bunch of violence-prone squatters occupy Nathan Phillips Square illegally and even erect a filthy tent city. But nothing to see here, folks. Absolute madness. And without further ado, here is the Commander-in-Chief of Rebel News himself, Ezra Levant. Welcome to Rebel Roundup, Ezra. So I'm thinking that might have been the Rebels' greatest moment last week, Ezra, where we went to City Hall and basically asserted our right to practice journalism in defiance of these thugs. But you know, my takeaway, Ezra, is that there's always been bad guys. 'Twas ever thus since the dawn of mankind. What we have right now in certain cities like Seattle, John Tory's Toronto, is the political masters acquiescing to the barbarians. And these are the real villains in my book.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had bad guys since Cain and Abel. Yeah. And one of the reasons we have police, which is actually a fairly new phenomenon in the sweep of history, it's what the philosopher Thomas Hobbes said. It's a social contract where we all agree as a community with each other, but we don't sign a contract, me and you and me and you. We all agree as a group that we're going to give some power to the Leviathan. That was his name of his book. Yes. Some great power that will have a monopoly on violence. Yes. That unless it's in extreme circumstances like self-defense, we give up our natural rights to violence to the Leviathan in return for protection. And Thomas Hobbes said that without that, without the agreement that we're going to be a community bound by certain rules, and if we disagree, we settle it peacefully, and only the police will be marauding about with guns. Life will be, according to Hobbes, nasty, brutish, and short. And if you look at the Chaz, that's the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, it was an extreme crime zone.
Yes.
There were murders, there were warlords, there were gangs,
Yeah.
there was murder, I'm sure there was rape, there was theft, there was obviously vandalism, trespass, things like that. That's what life without police is like. That's what defund police means. But the craziness about the Toronto Autonomous Zone is that it's not in some neighborhood away from the City Hall. It is right on the steps of City Hall,
Yes.
under the watchful gaze of City Hall security, who actually were telling us to stop bothering the protesters. We weren't bothering the protesters. They were pushing us, threatening us, attacking our property, later punching one of our cameramen, kicking one of our bodyguards. And the Toronto City Hall security were telling us that we were breaking the law. Toronto City Hall gave them, as you pointed out, the porta potty facilities. Yeah. And the Toronto police, now forget about the mall cop style security, the Toronto police, I spent nearly 20 minutes haggling, negotiating, begging, compromising to have them let me pass. Now, I didn't mind doing it because in a way it was a teachable moment to show, I wanted to explain to them, we've done nothing wrong, we're here with clean hands, we have our lawyer, we're being, I wanted to make the point. And I wanted one of those three outcomes. I mean, I said to the cop, either I'm going to get beat up, and I obviously don't want that. I mean, I could be really hurt. But imagine the police standing by, the City Hall security standing by while I get beat up for doing journalism on the steps of City Hall. That would be a shocking moment, I think. Or they would arrest me. That would be even more shocking. What happened was the best alternative is that the police do their job.
Yeah, and it was bittersweet too, wasn't it, Ezra? Because it was like, okay, go out into the square for 5 minutes, do your little rant. And we should, if our viewers haven't seen the original stories, we should give the backstory. We did that a week ago Wednesday. On Tuesday, Andrew went down in the morning. I went down in the afternoon to Nathan Phillips Square. We got chased out by the thugs. That was Andrew's case. In my case, it was the City Hall security, the mall cops, as you call them, getting the police to say, you got to go now or we're arresting you with trespassing. And I got the bums rush to the parking lot. You said, that's not how we roll at the Rebel. We have a constitutional right to be in that public square, and that's why we went back with added security, with a lawyer, with a copy of the Trespass Act. And Ezra, quite frankly, I think that was your finest hour, talking with those police and giving them, here are your three choices.
Yeah, well, and I had to mean it. I mean, I had to actually start to walk. I wanted to, you might recall I said, unless you have anything you want to say as a last moment thing, I'm going to go in now. So I wanted them to have a chance to make any objection, to put anything to me in advance, but I was going to go, and I had to be ready for that. And I talked. We had that staff meeting in the morning with our lawyer, Aaron. We went through the trespass laws. Someone can eject you from their private property for any reason or no reason. That's the old maxim, a man's home is his castle.
Yes.
So you can kick someone off your property, you don't even need a reason. But on public property, you need a reason. Because otherwise, that would be absurd if someone could kick you off the sidewalk, kick you off the street. What? No, this is common land. And so the law is very specific. You have to be doing something wrong. And simply when the mall cops, town hall security said, get off, I'm saying you have to. So that's not the law. And the police, who are the real muscle, because those mall cops aren't actually going to do anything, the police know the law enough. Now, I don't blame the cop for trying to dissuade me.
Yep.
It's easier for him. There's less chance of a bad outcome.
Yep.
And it is tough to be a cop these days when everyone's cell phone cameras capturing your every move, and if you have one false move, you're toast. But things were so bad the day before, we had to make the point. And that's why I usually hang out here at the office. We got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. But I was really glad to get out there. And I remember saying to some of our cameramen, Mocha and Efron, I said, I don't want you guys to go to jail. Someone's got to tell the story. Someone's got to take the footage back and edit it. But they were very brave too. I salute those youngsters for being very brave. And Efron actually took a punch. I think it hit his camera, not him. But we haven't released this yet. Maybe you should do a story on it. Our lawyer wrote a letter to the police chief insisting that they press charges against the man who hit. In fact, I'd invite you to take that lawyer's letter and do a video because I don't think our people know about it yet. I think that we should have had allies. I think we should have had civil liberties lawyers. I think we should have had journalist advocates. There are groups in Canada, and almost all of them are based in Toronto. Canadian Association of Journalists, Canadian Journalists for Free Expression, Reporters Without Borders, PEN Canada, Amnesty International. All these groups claim to be for free speech, free press, and for journalists. None of them even tweeted a tweet.
Yes, folks, here at Rebel News, we endeavor to bring you the other side of the story, but there are people that don't want the other side of the story to be told. Therefore, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. That's journalistdefensefund.com. And if you can, kindly make a donation.